Hello, everybody. Thank you again for joining our Metaverse Summit Roadshow, which is an online series of interview with Metaverse experts, entrepreneurs, and investors. So today, we are very happy to have Barthélémy Kiss with us, who is the co-founder of Powder, but also he has tons of experience before Powder. So let's maybe hear his story from his mouth. So welcome, Barthélémy, and could you tell us who you are and why are you interested in the metaverse?
Hi, Ingzi. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Super excited about what you guys are doing and about the Metaverse Summit that you're preparing. We're super excited with Powder to try and attend to it next July. So my name is Bart. I've been in tech for the last 8 years. Powder is my third project. I was at the beginning of Hello Tomorrow, which is a startup contest based in Paris, focused on deep technology. And that's how I met with the team with whom I co-founded a company called Artomatics in Dublin in 2015. And Artomatics builds an AI that automates 3D content creation for metaverse-like experiences, especially for gaming, but not only. The project went well, developed from 3 to 20 people, raised, I think, 5 million euros until it got acquired by Unity. It was announced 2 years ago. Super excited to be involved at Powder. It's also computer vision and gaming, except here we're leveraging technology to make it so that anyone playing any game on any platform can create cool video content through technology. So that's what we do. Yeah.
Fantastic. Actually, as I mentioned, I've heard of Artomatics very long time ago, like 2018. And at that time, I think the AI was really the hot topic, right? So everybody is leveraging AI to automate things, to create art. So could you maybe tell us more in detail about the ideation at that time of Artomatics and kind of the quick walkthrough of the development of it, and then the current state of art of the use case of it?
Yeah, for sure. I think when it comes to a deep tech startup, it's always a reverse engineering process, because you take technology that was created in the lab at the university during a PhD, and then you try to find real world problems for it. And when it comes to Artomatics, it's indissociable from the work of my co-founder, Eric Risser, who did a PhD in texture synthesis, which is a field of machine learning. And the technology that he engineered made it possible for computers to imagine content. And the technology specifically was called example-based content creation. And so you would feed examples to the technology, and then it would create more of it, so to speak. And it had different applications. At the beginning of the project, we were wondering, okay, are we going to apply it to 3D meshes, so like the shape of a 3D object, or is it more going to be the texture aspect of it, so the skin of the 3D asset? Realized that the texture was a better fit because there were maybe less constraints to tackle at the time. And I think it can be said that since the beginning of the 2010s, like the textures have gone from just an image file to what people call like PBR textures. So I think, and what it means is that in one texture, you actually have like several maps, each carrying different information. So there is the color, there is the depth, there is the reflectivity of the material, etc. And it actually made texture creation much more complicated. And the technology of Eric was great to tackle that. And specifically, the use case that enabled the project to grow a lot was 3D scanning. So it's a case that the technology over the last 5 to 10 years to scan 3D assets has developed a lot. It's called photogrammetry. And you take a bunch of pictures from different angles of an asset, and then it creates a 3D representation of it. However, when it comes to 3D scanning, you have like little imperfections that you need to correct, as well as the need to go from a few real-world assets to maybe more variety in them, and that's what the technology of Artomatics and now Unity does really, really well.
Nice. I saw that it is being branded as an art engine now in Unity 3D, right? So, well,
yeah, it's
on the acquisition, and after you became like investor maybe, and also co-founded the current Powder team, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think it's a case that when you look at Powder, our CEO is called Stanislas Copin, and he has had a lot of experience in startups in general and consumer startups in particular. And in 2012, he created, with two other co-founders, an app called Mindy, which was the first app with a vertical video feed and a music camera, a format that became popular later on with Musical.ly and TikTok. And so he's really a product visionary, you know. And together with Yanis and Christian, who are also my co-founders, we really wanted to get on board this next project because we felt like we could do something interesting around video and mobile. And it actually took us many different iterations to figure out what that would be. And I think it's a case that, Powder is our sixth project. We really have a test and learn approach to building products and companies. And in this case, I think we had like 6 months of cash left. I think it was 2 years ago, so 2019, when we realized that there was a big opportunity around game clips. So what are game clips? It's different than live that you would find on Twitch or YouTube gaming because it's asynchronous short videos, you know. We've realized that there was an opportunity because gaming is booming, but it's very competitive, you know, to succeed in it. And at the same time, everybody consumes short videos and mobile, you know. So we wanted to create a bridge between the two. And we realized that there were two opportunities. The first one was around sourcing the gaming content. And then the second one was around editing it. So we actually launched a landing page where we explained our value proposition, created a Discord server that now has 65,000 members that we really value and cherish, and with whom we've co-created the product, and we released our first product, which is Powder, the first game clip editor on mobile in April 2021, and we now have over 2.5 million installed.
That's fantastic. It's a product iteration process as well. You kind of maybe discovered also the metaverse social network value, meaning that people don't want to only capture their real life and post it on Instagram. They also want to capture their in-metaverse life, right? And the social interaction inside it.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's such a good point. And I think it's a case that, as you just said, people spend more and more time in virtual worlds in the metaverse, but there is no infrastructure to capture this content. You know, so it's really this infrastructure that we're building, and it's a case with pre-existing solutions that were on the market before us. And we did, a big survey to understand the usage. Got 16,000 answers, and we realized that on average, it took 2 hours to create 1 minute of game clip. And the workflow was so broken, people were using all kinds of recorders and editors, and sometimes up to 9 different mobile applications to do the editing. So we want to change that. We want to make it so that instead of 2 hours to create a good game clip, people only need 1 minute, and we try to do this with technology. And what this means really is that we're building the camera of the metaverse. So why camera? Because it helps select key moments out of vast amounts of information. And what is the metaverse? It's the transition from current media technologies into a much more powerful, immersive one. That is a gradient. Like the metaverse for us is already there. When it comes to the metaverse, many people think about Ready Player One and virtual reality. It's one manifestation of it. But for us, mobile gaming is the metaverse, and PC gaming and console gaming and streaming on Twitch, and maybe tomorrow augmented reality glasses as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So maybe without entering too much into technical details, but what is the technology behind that you were mentioning to facilitate the creation? Is it like an automatic recognition of the avatar of the user, of the gamer? How do you choose which is the right angle as a kind of automatic camera?
Yeah, it's such a good question, and maybe before getting into more details, at its heart, what we want to facilitate is that to create cool video content in gaming, it should be as easy as just playing video games. You know, that's really the vision that we're trying to facilitate. What does that mean? We have a set of at its heart, it's a combination of video recording technology to which we apply AI highlights detection. So we've managed to get access to the video stream on PC, on mobile, through streaming platforms like Twitch and YouTube gaming, and potentially on console as well. And then to it, we apply two different sets of neural networks. One is tied to game-specific highlight detection. So it's like a player elimination in Call of Duty, victory royale in Fortnite, for instance. And then we're like, oh, that's a highlight. And then we save, 10 seconds before, 10 seconds after that, and then we also have for streaming specifically, we have what we call anonymous emotion detection. So we analyze the emotion of the streamer, of the player, and then when people start to shout on camera or laugh, it's usually because there is something funny and interesting happening, and we also take that, and ideally we actually take the combination of both, and that's how people using our platform can create great highlights just by playing.
Yeah, fantastic. So from your experience, you really, experienced the AI use case, not only in terms of content creation, but also in terms of consumption, right? The distribution side of it. So AI is kind of often behind the scene or forgotten. Now we're talking about metaverse, even though it's actually facilitating, automizing a lot of things. But we're talking more about like blockchain or crypto or Web3 world. And then we are kind of forgetting about the intrinsic role that AI is playing, like with all the infrastructure, right? So definitely great to have you on that and have your point of view on that as well. So Powder is also moving into Web3 world, right? Is it recent? Do you have some latest announcement in 2022 to make?
Yeah, we have some exciting developments to share, but maybe I want to start by saying that we did a first experimentation around Web3 in December, which went really, really well, and to be honest, better than we would have envisioned it. And I'm going to get back to it in a sec. We think it's an interesting technology that has a lot of potentialities. But before we explore it more and go more towards it in terms of product iteration, we really want to onboard our team on it, because Web3 and the blockchain sometimes can be a bit like not everybody is necessarily in favor of it. And we think that on the market in the past, there has been a variety of players, in terms of ones that are really pioneers, engineers, and want to create an exciting new world, as opposed to some companies and projects that perhaps are a bit more scammy, and we don't want to take a part of that. So I just wanted to start by saying that. As far as I'm concerned, and maybe that's personally, I think that Web3 is exciting because it enables people, and specifically creators, to authenticate their content and to have shared ownership around it, and I think that Web2, for better or for worse, have actually created a situation in which when creators post content on the platform, they don't necessarily monetize it, except maybe on YouTube and Twitch, directly at least. And Web3, we think, is a solution to that because it creates shared ownership of content. That's one aspect. And then another aspect is also the authentication of content, because once you say something is, once you mint something in the blockchain and can trace its origin, then it's really yours, right? And I think it's a case that the Facebook internal research was saying that up to 40% of their content on the Facebook platform was stolen or repurposed without the creator's approval in 2018 again. So we really want to tackle this two items. Specifically, what we did is we launched the first game clip collection on Solana, which is a blockchain, on December 20th. For it, we collaborated with 3 studios, which are The Sandbox, Live Beyond from Darewise, as well as DNA Cat. And we had a pool of 13 creators with a cumulated audience of 300K followers on Twitch to play these games, and so it was like, I think 30 streams, and our AI found the best moments, and then our content team created like a 3D rendering of the moments so that it could, visually cool. And then we sold it again on December 20th. The team did a fantastic work building up the community and ensuring that the drop was a success. And we sold out the collection in under a minute and created about $50,000 in revenue for our creators in that time frame. Yeah.
So you are really about empowering creators, right? So when we're talking about Web3, we're talking about a lot of things. Of course, the ownership, of course, also the infrastructure in terms of blockchain, right? But we're also talking about empowering creators and give them tools. And then that's what Powder is trying to do, right? Across different, let's say, metaverses, or we call it today games.
Yep.
But I understand what you were saying as well. So currently we've been observing like gamers are not very positive, let's say. Not everybody is accepting this transition. And would you say the new emerging blockchain-based metaverses will have a competitive advantage around the creator economy, around gathering different community, or like the traditional, let's say, AAA type of games can also have this advantage, but they need to implement maybe some new elements?
Yeah, it's such a good question, and thanks for asking it. I think when it comes to NFTs, what struck me is that it's a technology that makes it so that like an image, for instance, or a video, instead of having like billions of copies on a hard drive, you're just going to have like 1 or 10 and put it in the blockchain and say, this is a limited edition of that content. And as the creator, I say, it will be unique. And I think it's a fantastic and very interesting innovation because as human beings, we are collectors. People like to collect things. It can be watches, it can be coins, it can be stamps. And I personally, I understand the logic of wanting to collect digital items. So that's for that. And I think gaming is an interesting application of this technology, because when you look at blockchain and crypto, it's mostly about, I guess, NFTs and tokens. And ever since I played video games, there were cool items in games that I could collect, and as well as in-game currency. So to me, as somebody who grew up with video games, it speaks to me a lot, and I understand the logic of putting it into the blockchain so that then maybe I can trade it if I want, or keep it and it's associated to my name. For me, it's a cool innovation. In terms of gamers' perception of it, it's true that right now it's a technology that's not very popular. I think we can all agree on that. And I think gamers, for better or worse, I mean, people, when you love something very much, you don't want it to change, because you're afraid of losing something, and when there is a new technology like this arriving, I think it's very easy to understand what you may lose. And I think there is a feeling maybe that as a gamer, you don't want to be exploited, you don't want to give money in new and maybe in new ways that are potentially not that enhance the experience. So I totally understand the sentiment, and whatever is coming up in terms of building a metaverse experience around that shouldn't be focused on this. So I think it will really be about how imaginative and creative studios can be to take this technological innovation that it's not perfect, and it has flaws, and make it something interesting, and you talked about big studios, small studios, how they're going to approach it. I think Web3 gaming is interesting, providing that it's not developed in a predatory way, but rather as something innovative. I think it's quite interesting, actually. It makes me think a bit of Kickstarter, which was very, very popular, I guess, 5-10 years ago, and stays very popular and relevant. And you would like contribute to a Kickstarter project, and then you would help it finance itself, and the product, usually it was hardware, would come to market, and you would receive it if you would. So some projects would fail, and then it was viewed as an alternative way for projects to get funding without necessarily getting VC funding specifically. And I think NFTs are a bit like that. They enable people to gather money early on and then create projects. And it's facilitating the burgeoning of a completely new industry. During our drive, we encountered countless projects that were crypto games, and it's fascinating to see these teams, being created and wanting to bring their game to market.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with what you said. The gamers, they don't like the changes, not in a traditional way, like when they're changing the gameplay or game character, they are already pretty sensitive about it. When it comes to this infrastructure level change, it definitely needs more time. And of course, we need to think about a good mechanism as well, right? A good playable, fun game, and a good way also to film it, to capture it, and to make it a fun experience in general. That's very important. So regarding maybe your role as a CGO, Chief Growth Officer, and COO of Powder, could you share more experience with the fellow maybe product creators in the metaverse world? What's the knowledge of Powder in terms of the audience, how to actually grow a product? It's kind of like a B2C and it's metaverse related product.
It's such an interesting question, and I hope I'll be able to answer to it in a way that is constructive and helpful. I think when it comes to Web3 in particular, but in gaming in general, it's all about community, and I think us starting to focus on community was the single event that actually made us starting to be maybe a bit more successful in our history as a company. Before then, perhaps it's fair to say that we were always building solutions in search of a problem, and once we started to focus on communities, it was the opposite, right? We were actually trying to solve problems for people. So it's such I guess obvious thing to say, but when you start a company, you maybe it can be a bit stressful to interact with people and get out there. So really encouraging people to do that. Yeah, that's I guess in my role, and together with the team, we look after growth and operations. What does that mean? Operations specifically is trying to make sure that things in the company are organized in a way that things work well. So you have the right resources in terms of people and funding applied to the right, solving the right problem with the right methodology. So that's what we do with the operations team. And when it comes to growth, and you know, I mean, together with other constituencies in the company, of course. And when it comes to growth, it's about community engagement and partnership with the studios and creators. I think Web3 is interesting because it's an industry that goes to market a lot through partnerships, and people are trying to be mutually beneficial in terms of how they interact with each other, and so that's why it's something that should really be looked after when you're building a metaverse or a Web3 product. And specifically when it comes to community engagement, we believe it's so important to have a very active Discord community that you can to which you can bring, you know, product updates very regularly to try to keep the community engaged and get them to give their opinion in terms of where the product strategy is going, and that's what you can see with many Web3 games at the moment, you know. And by the way, it creates a situation in which it's not so easy because on one hand you have NFT holders that sometimes, you know, want to make a quick flip, you know, they want to generate money quickly around their investments, but at the same time it takes 3 to 4 years at least to create a really, really good game, right? So it creates a question in terms of how do you manage to get a community that stays engaged and can weigh in while showing continuous progress around the project, you know. And I think it's for people creating metaverse-like experience, it's difficult, but I believe that you know, game engines, for instance, like Unity or Unreal, are helping such teams actually show progress rapidly. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're in such a unique positioning, right? Because when it comes to play to earn games, the community is really like maybe people who are familiar with crypto, with the play to earn business model, who are there have a different motivation and mindset. And when it comes to, let's say, gaming community, it's like the players that we've known for a very long time, right? And you are kind of in a unique position that you are dealing with both communities. And then maybe having those two different kind of community and having to manage them and make everybody happy, that's such a challenge. And your experience are definitely very useful. And what you said is really, really helpful for a lot of other future projects that will have to deal with these two communities, right? Because the gamers are there to play games. The play to earn gamers are there to play the game as well, right? So they are in the end of the day. So
it's such a good point, and I think when it comes to gaming, like crypto gaming and gaming, like the two communities are distinct, but maybe there is a bit of an overlap. And I mean, there is an overlap. And the question is, how will it grow, you know? And I think personally, it cannot grow without the core concerns of the gaming community being addressed, you know? And personally, I have the opinion and the intuition that Web3 is a better product, gaming is a better product than you know, traditional gaming, let's say. But it's really on us as a project and us as people who believe in this technology to go the extra mile and prove that the model is better, you know. And with the beginning of this year, I mean, we started like a studio partnership program because, you know, we're all about making it so that gamers can source, edit, share, and monetize their content, and we want to do it in a way that is collaborative with studios. We signed like 3 studios before Christmas and plan to sign 30 plus in the coming months. But before we a partnership with a studio, what we're going to do is we're going to audit the game, you know, and make sure that its economics are sound, not scammy. There are some people that are concerned that some games look a bit like Ponzi schemes, and that is materialized by the fact that the economics of the game are financed by newcomers, you know, that pay to get into the system, and you know, it takes longer and longer for them to amortize their investment. So we think that this is not a healthy way to grow. We believe that some games like the Sandbox, for instance, have interesting business models that are more sound, and more long term. I personally, I do believe that real estate in the metaverse makes sense because you buy something because you believe that, hey, you're going to be able to give visibility to your project in the long run when people will just drop by this part of the map. So I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting to see the Sandbox also having this marketplace of user-generated content that can be traded, because at the end of the day, it's creativity being rewarded and paid. So personally, I'm quite excited about NFTs for creators specifically. So we think it's very important to foster the creation of a Web3 gaming industry that is virtuous and really solves, really makes, has a positive impact, And I think if we zoom out to the max, you have like traditional Web2 platforms like perhaps Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, where you go there. If you create content, even if you make 1 million views, you're not going to get anything. And if you consume content, yes, it's going to be free, but the reality is that your attention is being monetized, So I don't really think it's a good model. And conceptually, it's possible to make it so that, okay, if you're devoting your efforts and your attention to a virtual experience or a digital experience, and if the platform is monetizing your attention or your engagement, conceptually, you could get a cut, right? And I think that's what Web3 is about, is realigning the interests of the players, the creators, the platforms in a way that is more virtuous. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing this precious opinion. Definitely agree with you. It's about also giving the power for every creator and every player, right? So when I'm talking about that, I'm also thinking about esport. So traditionally, when we are talking about esport, we're thinking about all these clubs and the different players are selected and being shown in the big screen. But with Powder and with also the play to earn, the Web3 business model, maybe everybody can also be kind of a high level player without being the top 3 in the world, and get rewarded and also get attention out of it, right? How many percentage would you say of the players are more on esport? How many are like more on the social level of the in-game camera?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And early on in the project, first there are 3 billion gamers, and that soon is going to be 3.5 billion, so half of mankind. And I think early on in the project, okay, but how serious are people? And found out that huge amounts of people actually want to make a living from their passion, and more often than not, it's gaming, And with the current platforms that are in place, yes, you have esport, but maybe 10,000 people live out of it, and the minute you're not good anymore, you lose everything, So it's a minority and privileged one, and they're very entertaining. And personally, I'm very happy to watch it when I can. But it's not so easy to make money out of it as a gamer. And then you have the creator platforms, and how many people can live out of it? Not that many either. There was this big leak around Twitch, and I think it's a case that the 10,000 biggest Twitchers make accumulated 1 billion a year, which is a lot of money. But if you look at number 10,000, I think the person makes $20,000 per year. And in many countries, that's a super good living, but in some, it's not that good. And frankly, it's not that enough. And with Powder, potentially with Web3 technology, but potentially with other implementations as well, we want to create a situation in which people can monetize their content more easily, And I think when it comes to the creator economy, you have some interesting new developments, like subscription to a channel on Twitch, or Patreon, where you can, or Substack, where you can again subscribe to creators. we want to implement, and then you don't need to have like a crazy audience to monetize, but maybe just like 100, 200 paid subscribers. We want to implement more of that. And it could be potentially creator NFTs, you know, and specifically game clip NFTs, you know, it's what our first drop was about. And we personally, I believe that making it so that people can sell their content directly to the audience is a progress for the creator economy. We live in an economy of knowledge, but the business models that let people with the knowledge and people that create the content to monetize are not that many. And the new ways to let them monetize can be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. So talking about your experience previously around the different startups, currently building and growing Powder, can we also maybe talk about what your thoughts about the future? And would you say you have some new announcement this year? What's the plan this year? And also maybe in the future, like 5 to 10 years, what's your vision of Metaverse will be like?
It's such a cool question. And to be honest, maybe I don't see 5 to 10 years into the future, because we're in 2022 and it really feels like the future is being written as we speak, you know. I think accelerated by the pandemic, sadly, but the usage around immersive and digital experiences has changed so fast that things are getting really interesting. And I think metaverse-like experiences will be more and more present. Super excited about the fact that yes, VR is starting to get some traction. Many people are saying that Apple perhaps is going to release an augmented reality headset this year. It's a space where so many big companies are trying to position themselves. You know, you have Apple that I've just mentioned. Microsoft is betting a lot on it as well. Amazon, Google, the game engines, so Epic, Unity, the big studios, you know, Ubisoft, Take-Two, etc. So it's so many things are happening right now. So many new experiences are being created. Play to Earn and Web3 are enabling so many projects to go to market super fast. A big component of what will make the metaverse successful is how quickly you can go from one experience to another, you know, and we think that Powder in that sense can be interesting, because at the end of the day, we're a platform that puts forward immersive experiences through our clipping and editing technology. And that's what we want to do, you know, to advertise as many cool immersive experiences as possible, and making it so that people can maybe transition from one to another quickly, and building a meaningful relationship in the metaverse as well. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Bart, for sharing the experiences, the vision, and everything. So looking forward also to seeing you in real life, in person, on July this year in Metaverse Summit. And this is kind of like a long time, right? So between now in January and in July, yeah. I'm sure there will be more exciting announcement and growth for Powder. So looking forward to having more updates also from your side. So how can the audience get in touch with you maybe in the meantime?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Barthélémy Kiss. You can subscribe to our page, Powder. Download our software. We're releasing Powder V2, on which we've worked like crazy for the last year. Next week, it's available on iOS, Android. We've just released AI models in our PC app before Christmas, so that, you know, when you play video games, again, the content goes directly into your library and then into your game clips library on the Powder mobile app. It's going like crazy. It's super cool experience. And feel free to reach out by email as well, Bart at powder.gg. And yeah, thanks Yingzi for the opportunity to you know, share these perspectives perhaps. And super excited about the Metaverse Summit that's coming up in July. It feels like you guys are covering the space in a very interesting way. And it's super exciting to be able to contribute to it, even if it's just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to talk to different founders in the space like yourself, right? So discovery and sharing is caring, right? So I'm sure that everybody in the audience also learned a lot of things from your talk today. So looking forward to it. And thank you again for sharing. Let's keep in touch.
All right, thank you. Bye.